Hello! Last year, Judith and myself walked the Colorado Trail. And I guess the purpose of doing this video really is, in doing so, we used a lot of YouTube videos and anything we could find on social media, websites, whatever, to try and help us to plan it, because we're obviously in the UK and Colorado's not in the UK. So finding information out and planning for it was quite a challenge. So really what we want to do is just kind of give a little bit back and kind of share with anybody who's interested some of the lessons that we learned and some of the things that we did in preparation for it, some of the things that worked well, some of the things that didn't work so well. So first up, a bit of background really. We were in the States doing a road trip from Denver to California, because we had family at either end. And on the way we happened to, we'd come through Silverton, we were driving up over the Molas Pass. And obviously it's a beautiful view from Molas Pass, and at the Molas Pass there was a board, and on it had the Colorado Trail. And I think Judith just said he said kind of tongue in cheek, we should do that one day. And I thought, oh yeah, okay, right, okay. And then, well, we've done it. We both retired a couple of years ago and decided that as a kind of our retirement challenge, if you like, we'd ever go to it. The seed was sown, and there we are, we did it. Judith even has a certificate to prove it. So the Colorado Trail, for Judith in particular, that was quite a challenge. I've done lots of backpacking and walking and climbing over the years, but for Judith not so much so. And the prospect of doing sort of 486 miles, 89,334 feet, because it says on there
54 feet.
54 feet of vertical feet. That's quite a challenge, just those numbers. So as I say, what we're going to do is we're going to take you through some of the things that we thought about in terms of planning, and then what we actually found out when we did it. So the first thing we're going to have a chat about is the kind of physical side of it, because obviously those numbers, nearly 500 miles, 90,000 feet of ascent is a significant amount when you're carrying a pack and your provisions. For me, I knew I was capable of that. I've done a lot of running, walking, climbing over the years. I've done a long distance backpack the year before across Scotland, so I kind of knew physically that was well within my limits. But for you, that was a bit more daunting, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'd already walked the coast to coast, which is across the north of England, about 200 miles, and found that challenging. But I knew I could do that. I knew I could walk 200 miles, and I thought if I could walk 200 miles, I could walk 500 miles. But if it's January at the moment in the UK, and this is the point at which people are beginning to make solid plans about what they're going to do in the summer, and I would say that in terms of your physical preparation for doing something like the Colorado Trail, now is the time to start. I'm a bit of a fair weather runner. I was already running a 5k once a week with park run, but I had to step up and get to the point where I was running 20 kilometres a week and probably doing 2 power walks in addition to that before we actually set off for the Colorado Trail. So I was certainly the fittest I've ever been in my life, and I was still pushed to my limits. So if you're thinking about doing something like this, don't underestimate the physical fitness that you require. The fitter you are, the more you will enjoy it.
Definitely. And so that was kind of what you did want to for yourself personally. We did some things together. So we did do a couple of long distance walks. We did the Cateran Trail in Scotland just before we left, and we've done a number of shorter kind of 2-day overnight hikes. Partly for the fitness point of view, but also to kind of refine the equipment that we'll talk about later on. But it was definitely a case of you doing some stuff yourself, wasn't it, to try and get up to speed?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it was probably about 6 months preparation. Yeah. From start to finish.
Now, I'd think I'm pretty fit, you know, certainly for my age, and I talked about the fact that I didn't see it so much as a challenge, but actually when you're on trail, I think what I realised on the Colorado Trail is you don't really get any days off, do you? You know, the climbing is pretty relentless every day. You know, you're faced with a climb pretty much every day, and day after day after day. You know, I think physically that is quite difficult, and there was no doubt there were times where you were pushed to your absolute limit on it, weren't you? You know,
yeah, I mean, I watched back the videos. I don't know if any of you have seen Andrew's videos about the Colorado Trail, but I'm always struck by how utterly miserable I look in each of those videos. And it wasn't miserableness. I was still capable of cracking a joke. However, it was sheer exhaustion, sheer physical. And don't take that wrongly. I wasn't hating every minute of it. I was just too tired to speak, too tired to smile. By the end of the day, all I wanted to do was sleep.
Yeah. And I think as well, some of the paths as well, we expected them to be pretty easily graded all the time, and actually we found that in some cases, particularly sort of through Collegiate West, some of those ascents, you know, were perhaps a bit steeper than we thought they might be. A bit more like in good old Scotland, you know, no graded paths up there. So I think that was another thing as well. Although there were some sections that were pretty well graded, there were some that were quite steep as well.
Yeah, once you were in the wilderness areas, that was where the paths became more challenging.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Moving on then to the logistical side of things. So I think for us, one of the challenges was obviously we were preparing here for a backpacking trip. In a different country with a completely different climate to anything that we're used to really in the UK. So again, finding out as much information prior to going as we could was kind of invaluable, and then perhaps trying to test out some of the kit before we left. One of the things that you picked up really on was a data book. You know, a lot of people have talked about the data book, and I think that was invaluable as a piece of kit. For planning, because it helped me give an idea about what I thought we would be capable from a day to day. So I had an idea that from the data book, I thought we could maybe do 16 miles a day roughly on average. Looked feasible, and that turned out pretty well actually. There were some days where we did a lot more. We did 20 miles plus, but there were some days that were a little bit shorter.
Yeah, just to clarify, the data book is a book that's available from the Colorado Trail Foundation, and you do have to order it from America. You'd have to order it from the United States. It's not something that you can pick up over here or even order from Amazon. So I bought it for Andrew actually for a Christmas present last year, and having it well in advance is invaluable. So if you're planning for doing the Colorado Trail in the summer, I would get hold of the data book a number of months in advance because it really did help in the planning process. Yeah,
but then when we were over there, you also got they call it Gutuks. It's changing, hasn't it? Is it Far Out or something? The app.
Yeah, the Far Out. Really the Far Out app, previously known as Guthooks, was absolutely indispensable. It was so helpful when we were on trail. Essentially, you have to download the maps in advance, and there is a fee to pay, but it was worth every single penny, because what it does is it tells you if you're ever in any doubt about whether you're on the trail itself, then it tells you with the use of GPS, so you're not dependent on a phone signal, and you do lose phone signal a lot on the Colorado Trail, particularly after about the first third. There's very little in the way of phone signal. I would say, certainly for us. And it also tells you things like exactly how far away you are from the next water source.
Which has been important for you, wasn't it?
Which was incredibly important for me. I stressed about water a lot more than Andrew did. Yeah.
So that was really good. And then the other thing we were faced with is from a kit point of view, there was obviously some kit that we were going to, extra kit or different kit we were going to need to what we would have for backpacking in the UK. Fortunately, because we'd watched quite a few people in the US doing backpacking trails in the US, we'd already converted to for walking in trail shoes. Traditionally in the UK, people have always tended to do backpacking trips in boots, but we converted trail shoes, and I did the whole of Scottish National Trail in trail shoes, and it was just amazing. Made a real difference. So we knew the benefits of trail shoes, and really lightweight waterproofs as well. Again, in the UK, particularly if you're in somewhere like Scotland where it rains a lot and continuously a lot and could be rain over several days, you can probably get away with lightweight waterproofs, but you probably want slightly heavier ones. But we'd kind of got really lightweight waterproofs to take with us, so we kind of already got those. Then there were other things like bear canisters. So yeah, I mean you don't get bears in the UK. So we kind of ordered those through some friends that we've got who live in Woodland Park. They'd ordered a couple of bear canisters for us. They were a bit of a challenge and interesting, weren't they? We took bear canisters. We found that in retrospect, really, we could have got away with a bear sack?
An
Ursack, yeah. Which certainly a lighter weight. And these bear canisters took like a huge amount of space in your rucksack, didn't they? So you kind of had to plan around out where you're going to put your... Anyway, we sorted it out, didn't we? But the bear canisters was an interesting one. The other thing was water filters. Now, in the UK, particularly for me, I'm doing a lot of backpacking in Scotland. You can just drink out the streams. I mean, I've done it for 30, 40 years and never ever had an issue. So the water filter was interesting, and having to filter all your water. And you were definitely about the water, wasn't it? You had to make sure you had your water.
Oh yeah.
So just getting into kind of a routine and using the water filters, and again, I think before I go, we messed up on one of the soy filters, didn't we? I ended up breaking it, didn't we? I had to buy a new filter at some point. So I'd maybe just, in hindsight, have practiced more using my water filter before we went.
And taking some spare O-rings.
Yes, O-rings, yeah, as we found out, because we didn't know before, but they tend to break, and so taking in some spare O-rings would have been useful. And then we had the whole sun protection stuff, didn't we?
Yeah, well, as you can probably tell from the accent, I have Scottish ancestry and Scottish skin to go with it. So, you know, I'd watched these people on these videos from the US doing the entire Colorado Trail in tiny little shorts, and knew that just wasn't an option without taking a whole swimming bath.
You wouldn't wear tiny little shorts anyway, would you really?
No, I wouldn't want to wear tiny little shorts. Not at my age. But, you know, without taking a whole swimming pool full of sunscreen, that just wasn't happening. So something that I suppose was fairly unique to us, if you watch the videos, is that we walked the whole thing covered from head to foot. And actually, it wasn't an issue. I thought that walking in running tights, particularly in the warmer weather, because there are extremes of temperature, would be extremely challenging, and that I would feel too hot and sweaty all the time. And that wasn't the case at all. The other piece of kit that was absolutely fabulous was the sun hoodies.
No, I love the sun hoodies
that we took.
Yeah, sun
hoodies were absolutely excellent, because they just took all the stress out of the whole sun, high altitude, Scottish skin situation.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to be able to find some sun hoodies online here in Britain before we left.
Well, we got them from Europe, didn't we?
That were relatively inexpensive and did the job brilliantly. We had no problems.
They were really cool. I was surprised how comfortable they were. The sunnies were great.
Yeah.
And it was just then from a sun point of view, also making sure we had really decent sunglasses. Again, if you're at altitude, with the glare of the sun as well, so we made sure we had high quality sunglasses, didn't we? And I think you wore a sun hat as well, didn't you?
Yes,
I did.
Oh,
I had a cap winter. So I think there were definitely essential bits of kit that perhaps wouldn't be as essential in the UK that we that we took with us. The other thing, of course, is, and I think a big difference between backpacking in the UK and backpacking on the Colorado Trail was the food carries. Yeah. So even for me on the Scottish National Trail, which goes through some pretty remote parts of Scotland, I was never needing to have more than I had 1 4-day food carry. I had little villages. So being present on the Colorado Trail, perhaps some 6-day food carries, for us was something new. And also the fact that even on some of those stages or sections, you were also miles away from a resupply town. Mm-hmm. So we were very, very fortunate that our good friends Mike and Fran, who live in Woodland Park, Denver, decided that what they would do is they would support us on our way down. So they met us at all our resupply points. So things like at Breckenridge, Twin Lakes. They met us, where did they meet after Twin Lakes? Lake City. Yeah, so all the kind of major resupply points, Mike and Fran were there. So it took a big lot of pressure off us, didn't it? And it was just fabulous. It really helped make the trip. We had a great laugh with them and some great times. Enjoyed some lovely food as well in the towns that we went to. So that was a real plus to the whole trip for us. Once we were very fortunate.
We were, but I think that the fact that we had sort of built-in support shouldn't put anybody off who's actually going to do it without that built-in support. Because from what we saw at the trailheads, we watched quite a lot of people hitching at the trailheads and picking up lifts to the nearest towns. And what was clear was that the people of Colorado are very used to picking up hitchhikers, and we never saw anybody waiting for more than 20 minutes maybe for a lift.
But the other people that we talked to, it was never a problem for it, was it really?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk next about what we thought were the mental challenges that in some ways caught us by surprise, and we had to deal with as we went along. And I think the first thing will be and again it's the same when you look back at the videos that I shot, when you look at what people put on YouTube, is of course what they're only showing you they're only showing you generally, they're showing you the nice parts. So the lovely sun walking through the trees and the lovely vistas from the top. And we found there were definitely some things that perhaps we weren't anticipating. So we've got I suppose the first one of these would be the tree walking. Yeah,
I mean, walking through a forest is lovely, don't get me wrong.
The first day was beautiful. We really loved the first day because it was just gorgeous, wasn't it?
Fabulous. I mean, obviously coming from Britain, you've got bears at the back of your mind because everybody who talks to you about the Colorado Trail thinks you're going to be eaten by a bear.
In the UK, they do it.
We got over that fairly quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, we got over it by educating ourselves about bears and their behaviour and what to do and so on. But it doesn't get you past the fact that you are doing a lot of woodland walking, particularly in the first third of the trail, perhaps. And it's fine, but it does get a bit samey at times.
Yeah, we found that, didn't we? Yeah. Maybe go up to Twin Lakes. I think on one of my videos I commented at one of the camps. I said, that once you were getting above tree line, it was there was some stunning views, but still a lot of your day at that stage was walking through the forest, walking up through the tree line, walking down through the tree line. What else was there?
Mosquitoes.
Oh, crikey, mosquitoes. Yeah, now I think we knew there were going to be mosquitoes, and we kind of prepared ourselves a bit for it, but we didn't know how bad they were going to be on a couple of sections, and nobody had really said that. Maybe it's not for the US, but for us, there was that one section, wasn't there? What was it? From Tennessee Pass, just a day of it where we just couldn't. You had to keep moving all the time, wasn't it? You just couldn't stop. Those mosquitoes were on you. So I think that took us by surprise a bit, and I think. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we also had this notion that when we'd finished our walk in the evenings, we'd be able to sit outside the tent, relax in the evening sunshine, and there were times when the mosquitoes made that not possible, weren't they? So we were kind of in the tent with the bug net up, trying to make sure we didn't get bitten. So the mosquitoes took us by surprise.
Yeah, and I think we didn't start the walk with enough or powerful enough bug spray.
Yeah.
So definitely that's something perhaps to add to the kit list, is make sure that you've got some bug spray with you that you know is effective.
Yeah, and I think that you can spray on your clothes and your kit as well. Yeah, I think that's what we found, wasn't it? I think also naively we had the idea that mosquitoes wouldn't be able to bite through our...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we thought mosquitoes couldn't bite through clothes. Wrong. They can't bite through waterproofs, but they can bite through running tights. So
hence, on red hot days, we'd sometimes be walking with waterproofs on and people would look at us really weird. Anyway, it was... the mosquitoes would be better prepared for them next time. In fact, actually, and after that stage, once we'd stopped at... I think we'd gone and got some more stuff out from a shop to make sure that the mosquitoes weren't quite as evil. Right, then there was the rain. Oh my gosh.
And more specifically, the thunderstorms.
So Mike and Fran, who we stayed with, our lovely friends in Woodland Park, always tell us how the climate in Colorado is beautiful. You know, lovely sunshine.
Never rains.
Never rains. Occasionally in summer we get the odd thunderstorm, you know, that might drop a bit of rain on us, and then it brightens up. So we were a bit naive, I think, when it came to this. We knew that we were going to get afternoon thunderstorms, right? That was a given. All right, but here in the UK, what tends to happen is you'll get. Thunderstorms are very rare in the UK, but when you get a thunderstorm, it will build up. You know, get it in the afternoon. It'll chuck it down for a couple of hours. Thunderstorm clears away, and you've got a lovely sunny evening. That's lovely air because all the air is clear, so it's really nice and clear. So we had this idea before we started. What we'd do is we'd set off early. When the thunderstorms arrived, we'd put the tent up. Have a little kip in the tent for a couple of hours and then get walking again in the evening. Nah, never happened, did it? I don't think we ever sat outside the tent. Well, once, no, there were a couple of occasions, weren't there? Well, the one at Hope Pass where we sat out in the tent in the evening, weren't there? But a lot of the times we found that, first of all, the thunderstorms were brutal. They're nothing like you get in the UK. I mean, they were like on thunderstorms on steroids to us. And I think that was, for me, it was quite unnerving, particularly the amount of lightning that there was. And so mentally I wasn't prepared for that at all, and that actually shook me up on a number of occasions. We had one really bad storm where I was like, at the end of it, right, we're going, that's it, I've had enough. You know what I mean, I can't take this anymore. So even though, you know, I'm normally quite a rational person, the thunderstorms kind of got to me.
And the strategy for dealing with that, which you can't avoid, if you want to do the trail in, you know, the time scale that we did in July and August, is that you get up early. You know, so if you've got any idea of having a holiday and lying in until 9 o'clock, no, not if you don't want to take 3 months to do it. You know, it was getting up early. We're talking about, you know, at the latest 5 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, when we started, initially we started in the first few days, we were up certainly before 6, but as that progressed, it got to 5 as a minimum, and then on some days we were even up at 4 o'clock, weren't we? Yeah. But I think the other difficulty as well was around the thunderstorms was, I mean, we had some beautiful mornings, don't get me wrong, some lovely mornings, but sometimes the thunderstorms were rolling at 11 o'clock even. We had some that started before midday, didn't we? You know, and so even getting up at like 4 o'clock, we weren't quite able to get a full day in. So the thunderstorms were hard, and I think last year as well was a year where they'd had more rainfall than is typical. Yeah. You know, I think talking to people, you know, we met along the way, it was an unusual year for rainfall. So, but that was hard for me mentally. That was really tough. But
on the plus side, we saw some beautiful sunrises.
We did, yeah. I mean, being up early and walking, you know, I love walking in that sort of, you know, pre-dawn light. Anyway, you were a bit more cautious because of the bears, weren't you? But right. Given all that, would we recommend doing this trail? I think the answer probably, well, for me, would be unequivocally yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the rewards that you get from it, in terms of the sense of achievement and the experiences that you have along the way, and it's worth mentioning some incredible people that you meet along the way, makes it absolutely worth the effort, worth the pain. It might take a couple of weeks for you to realise that when you get to the end, but yeah, absolutely, we're incredibly glad that we did it. It was a experience of a lifetime.
Yeah, I always think on these trips, you know you're going to have some real low points, but you're also going to experience some real high points. It's like a microcosm of life in a month, you know, highs and lows. But the highs are incredibly high. You know, Colorado's a beautiful part of the world. You know, some amazing mountains, forests, wildlife. You know, and the people that we met as well. You know, were amazing, friendly. You know, as you know, personified by Mike and Fran, they just can't do enough for you. You know, they're lovely people. So it does leave you with a lot of memories, and as you say, it's a bit like childbirth. The worst parts of it tend to disappear with time, and you just remember the nice bits, which I suppose is a good thing. But yeah, it felt like it was a proper adventure, particularly for you. I think that's the first time you've ever done anything like that. I mean, it really took you out of your comfort zone, didn't it? You know, a lot of the time.
Yeah, to share a 2-man tent with you for a month.
Good point. Yeah, that's really. You were well looked after. You were treated like a princess. You had your team head for you every night, tempo up for you. All you. I tell you what, mate. No, but it felt like a proper adventure, didn't it? You know, over that month. So yeah, fully recommend it. Right, what's next for us? Oh, we're back to some back in the UK. No thunderstorms. Hallelujah. Oh, midges. Oh damn, we've got Scottish midges. No, never mind.